Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Paul, the Canadian Snowman, here once again with some more history of Russia. We just had a fantastic episode. Was it Catherine the Great? I think that was it. I'm sorry if I actually got the name wrong. I think it was Catherine, right? I'm sure they will correct me if I'm wrong in the beginning of this video. But yeah, we're on to part 4, guys, already. Uh, and at the ending of the last one, Catherine the Great, she died. And I think, whoever, I forget the name, takes over, and they kind of made it sound like things are about to kind of go downhill. That's kind of the impression I got. So, from what I remember anyway. Yeah. And like this image right here, like before I do a video, I just I Googled history of Russia part 4, and that's one of the images that pops up. So, I was like, I thought, oh, that looks cool. I'll use it. And, I'm assuming there's going to be some kind of naval battle, which means I'm guessing it's going to kind of be maybe around Sweden and Norway because, that's the only area that kind of Russia kind of has, next to the sea or whatever. So, I'm assuming that. I mean, I could be completely wrong and it might not make no naval battle at all, but image still looks cool. I use it anyway. But, yeah, what else is there? I think that's it. I think we're kind of caught up. All right, let's jump into it, I guess. Before we do, please hit that like and subscribe, like always, guys. Please and thank you. And is there anything else? I don't think so. So remember, I'll just pause. All right, let's get to the video. Okay, lost my train of thought.
1825. Victory over Napoleon had confirmed Russia's status as a world power. But there was
That's right. That was we're basically past the Napoleonic era. That was in the previous Napoleonic series, so we're kind of now we're like overlapping that, and one just passing the overlap. So that's neat.
had confirmed Russia's status as a world power. But there was discontent within Russia amongst intellectuals and army officers, some of whom had formed secret societies to plot the overthrow of Russia's autocratic system. When Emperor Alexander was succeeded, not as expected by his brother Constantine, but by a younger brother Nicholas, one of these secret societies used the confusion to launch a military coup. But the Decemberist revolt, as it became known, was defeated by loyalist troops, and the ringleaders were hanged.
Okay.
Others were sent into internal exile in Siberia. This was to become a common sentence for criminals and political prisoners in Tsarist Russia. Nicholas went on to adopt an official doctrine of orthodoxy, autocracy, and nationality. The state was to rest on the pillars of church, Tsar, and the Russian national spirit, a clear rejection of the values of European liberalism. In the Caucasus,
So basically, I guess, Catherine, she liked, how things were going in Europe, and she wanted to kind of get that going on, in Russia. She kind of liked, how they did things over there, and basically, sounds like the old powers that be behind the scene, kind of like don't want that. I guess they kind of, they don't want change. They think their way is better, and I guess, and now they're just, yeah, it looks like, it's going to go the opposite way of the kind of European way, which I guess can make sense when you think about, Russia and Europe today. You don't really, I'm sorry, I don't really consider think of kind of Russia as being always on the outside. When I think of Europe, I don't think of Russia. Like, Russia's kind of like on the outside, they don't, not part, of that kind of like the group of nations there. So I guess I'm assuming that this kind of starts it off, in that path where they kind of separate themselves from Europe. But,
of the values of European liberalism. In the Caucasus, border clashes with Persia led to a war which ended in complete Russian victory. The Treaty of Turkmenchay forced Persia to cede all its territories in the region to Russia
wow.
and pay a large indemnity. Russian support for Greece in its war of independence against the Ottomans led to war between Russia and the Ottoman Empire. Russian victory brought further gains in the Black Sea region. A Polish revolt, led by young army officers, was crushed by Russian troops. Alexander Pushkin, Russia's greatest poet, was shot in a duel, and 2 days later died from his wounds. Nicholas sent troops to help put down a Hungarian revolt against Austrian rule.
Okay, I'm going to take this back a little bit. A duel. I watched a bunch of the series called Sharp. It's Napoleonic Wars in Spain. And I think there was a couple of duels, and that's kind of like if you disrespect somebody or someone disrespects you, you can ask for a duel, right? That's kind of like the way, they brought up in that TV show. And so I'm guessing, he was disrespected or someone disrespected him, like, let's have a duel, and I guess he kind of lost. He's the one who got shot. So I'm assuming something like that happened there. I mean, take it back here.
Troops to help put down a Hungarian revolt against Austrian rule. The emperor's willingness to help suppress liberal revolts won him the nickname the gendarme, or policeman of Europe.
Huh.
Russia's first major railway was opened, connecting St. Petersburg and Moscow.
Okay. Improvements.
Alexander Hertzon, a leading intellectual critic of Russia's autocracy, emigrated to London, where he continued to call for reform in his homeland. He'd later be described as the father of Russian socialism. The Ottoman Empire, now known as the sick man of Europe, reacted to further Russian provocations by declaring war. The Russian...
Why are they called the sick man of Europe? Just because they're kind of like the outsider kind of thing? Interesting.
...to further Russian provocations by declaring war. The Russian Black Sea Fleet inflicted a crushing defeat on the Turks at the Battle of Sinope. But Britain...
Okay, there's the photo. Okay, that's okay. It's in the Black Sea, and I'm thinking like north. So okay, I was wrong, but there was a battle. There was a sea battle. I just got the location wrong.
Defeat on the Turks at the Battle of Sinope. But Britain and France, alarmed at Russia's southern expansion and potential control of Constantinople, declared war on Russia.
Oh, wow.
The Allies landed troops in Crimea and besieged the naval base of Sevastopol, which fell after a grueling year-long siege. In the Baltic, British and French warships blockaded the Russian capital, St. Petersburg. Russia was forced to sign a humiliating peace, withdraw its forces from the Black Sea, and put on hold plans for further southern expansion.
Oh, hold on. Hold on, is this a commercial? Did I try to pause it at the wrong time? Let's see here.
Play War Thunder, the next-gen military online action game now.
Where's
All
my
new
other
ray
one?
tracing, realistic...
So basically, Russia, was gaining a lot of power and all land, and like the Allies, like France and the UK was like, we don't like this, we don't want them to keep, they didn't want to have too much power, and they basically blocked them from trade and all that stuff, because they, France and Britain all obviously have a better navy, so they were kind of able to stop whatever progress I guess they were doing in trading or whatnot. And because they obviously have a superior navy, I guess that would kind of force the Russians to kind of, have a treaty because they couldn't. Probably like their people maybe been starving because they weren't getting the trade, maybe, or I don't know, maybe just Britain and France probably just have better armies, just better equipment. I don't know. Anyways, back to this.
Plans for further southern expansion.
Alexander II, the Liberator.
Nicholas I was succeeded by his son, Alexander II. The Crimean War had exposed Russia's weakness. The country lagged far behind its European rivals in industry, infrastructure, and military power.
There you go.
So Alexander, unlike his father, decided to embrace reform. The most obvious sign of Russia's backwardness was serfdom. According to the 1857 census, more than a third of Russians were serfs, forced to work their master's land with few rights, restrictions on movement, and their status passed down to their children. They were slaves in all but name. In 1860...
I'm sorry, I know this is unrelated, because it kind of reminds me of, I think called, the caste, it's called the caste system in India. I don't think that's a thing anymore, where there's tiers of, I guess how high you are, and the higher you are in the ranks, the more special you are. And the ones at the bottom, I think they're called the Untouchables. I think that's right. And like they were basically had just shitty jobs and everything, and you're basically born into it. If you're an untouchable, you had the crappiest job, and there's really nothing you could do about it. You could move up. You're kind of stuck in that position. So that's what that kind of reminds me of. All right. But anyways, on. Sorry, India. They're kind of, but just came to mind.
Slaves in all but name. In 1861, Alexander II abolished serfdom in Russia. He was hailed as the liberator. But in reality, most former serfs remained trapped in servitude and poverty. Alexander's reforms would continue.
Exactly. I mean, not exactly, but I mean, if you're free, all of a sudden you're free. Like, what are you gonna do? I mean, like, that's your way of having a roof over your head and having a meal. Like, where are you just gonna leave, and what are you gonna do? You don't have no money, nothing. So you're kind of stuck in that position because you don't have any money or any resources to kind of do anything. I mean, so yeah, I guess they're just kind of stuck in that position.
In servitude and poverty. Alexander's reforms would continue with the creation of the Zemstva, provincial assemblies with authority over local affairs, including education and social welfare. In the Far East, Russia forced territorial concessions from a weakened China, leading to the founding of Vladivostok, Russia's major Pacific port. Another uprising by Poles and Lithuanians against Russian rule was once more crushed by the Russian army. In the Caucasus, Russia's long and brutal war against local tribes came to an end, with their leaders swearing oaths of loyalty to the Tsar.
Apparently Alexander seems to be doing a good job. I mean, as far as he's gaining land. I mean, he lets, I guess, the serfs, they're not a thing anymore. But like the uprising, all these little uprisings, he's stopping them. So, he's not doing bad. Seems to be doing pretty good to me. I mean, so far.
With their leaders swearing oaths of loyalty to the Tsar. In Central Asia, the Russian Empire was gradually expanding southwards. Russian armies defeated the Emirate of Bukhara and the Khanate of Khiva. And by the 1880s, Russia had conquered most of what was then called Turkestan, today the countries of Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan.
Wow.
Imperial rivalry in Central Asia between Russia and Britain led to the Great Game, a 19th century version of the Cold War. Centered on Afghanistan, diplomats and spies on both sides tried to win local support, extend their own influence, and limit the expansion of their rival, while avoiding direct military confrontation. Russia decided to sell Alaska to America for $7.2 million.
That's crazy, man. $7.2 million. Like, were they just kind of desperate for money at that point? It seemed like they're doing all right, I guess, with the war. With war, it costs a lot of money. And it is kind of interesting because, British did, rule India back then. They're kind of little, back and forth they had there is cool. But it's like, even 120 million today, that is dirt cheap. Like, any country in the world right now would buy Alaska for $120 million. Like, that's like nothing in today's like money. So it's like United States jumped on that, man. That's an awesome deal. And yeah. And never mind, I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there. Okay. Here you go.
Alaska to America for $7.2 million.
Well, it would be very, because, Canadian. And it would have been very interesting. Like, I wonder what, like, just life being different when you have, like, Russia on your border, even though it's way up north than the United States. I wonder, like, just say this purchase never happened. Like, I think it'd just be very interesting. Because then you'd think, when the Cold War ends up happening, you'd have Russia right there, where probably with their like nuclear missiles just right there, so it's probably I'm sorry, I know you guys, probably a better thing that United States was right there for the Canadians, wise, because then we're not kind of basically we were kind of directing you, because I know you guys are just way up just above us right here, but like it wasn't as close. So just saying, and this has nothing to do with this video. I'm sorry. I just kind of speak my mind in these things.
Alaska to America for $7.2 million. Many Americans thought it was a waste of money. Gold and oil were only discovered there much later. Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace was published, still regarded as one of the world's greatest works of literature. The late 19th century was a cultural golden age for Russia, a period of literary greats and outstanding composers. Russia, in support of nationalist revolts in the Balkans against Ottoman rule, went to war with the Ottoman Empire once more. Russian troops crossed the Danube, then with Bulgarian help, fought to secure the vital Shipka Pass. Then they launched a bloody 5-month siege of Plevna in Bulgaria. Russia and her allies finally won victory, with their troops threatening Constantinople itself.
Wow.
But at the Congress of Berlin, Russia bowed to international pressure and accepted limited gains in a settlement that also led to independence for Romania, Serbia, Montenegro, and later Bulgaria.
Okay, interesting.
Meanwhile, within Russia, radical political groups were increasingly frustrated by Alexander II's limited reforms. There were several failed attempts to assassinate the emperor, but as he prepared to approve new constitutional reforms, he was killed in St. Petersburg by a bomb thrown by members of the People's Will, one of the world's first modern terrorist groups.
Damn.
This act of violence would lead only to a new era of repression.
Oh no.
Quality writing makes your schoolwork better.
That's
Meet Grammarly, the digital writing assistant.
Did you know all epic
Repression. So are we going kind of back, because the people are free now, kind of. So are we gonna like it's gonna be even worse for the people now because of this? So man, I just don't like the sound of that. But like, dang, it seemed like a lot happened there. Like in this video, Russia was, they seemed like they were kicking butt. They're just trying to gain more land, and they were making gains in China, except for selling Alaska, which it was obviously in hindsight was a bad idea because of gold and all that stuff. Uh, so I thought that was kind of weird because they gained land from China, but they lost land to the states by selling it. Doesn't seem to make much sense to me, but and I guess they kept trying to push, on the it's called the Western front, or into Europe, or down farther down, into Asia, and yeah, Britain wasn't having none of that. I mean, France and the Allies, they were having none of that. They're like putting a stop to this, so that's interesting. And yeah, now we're moving forward, guys. This is what, part 4. We've gone to part 5. I hope you enjoyed this video. I did. I think this is like really interesting stuff. And yeah, good stuff. Please hit that like and subscribe, guys. Uh, and yeah, I hope to catch you guys in the next video. I mean, we're on our way to part 5 already. All right. So anyways, there you go. Peace. Thank you for watching. And I will catch you guys in future videos.